Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stu again, and this is Stu's News, a review of American high-speed rail happenings over the last month. In this June 2025 episode, we'll take a look at what went down in May. Starting off with Acela, the NEC, and the biggest news of the month, Amtrak's Senior Vice President of High-Speed Rail Development, Andy Byford, has been tapped to lead the federal effort to renovate New York Penn Station. Amtrak pulled out of the Texas Central Railway project, freeing up Byford, who is familiar with New York from his tenure as the president of New York City Transit from 2018 to 2020. Byford is generally considered one of the more formidable forces in North American passenger rail. For the rest of the Northeast Corridor, let's work our way from south to north, starting in Baltimore, Maryland. The Dark Lord Elon Musk has once again wormed his way into Amtrak, being tapped through his Boring Company to help out with the Frederick Douglass Tunnel project. This is a project to replace the current 35-mile-per-hour, 150-year-old tunnel through Baltimore with a snazzy new one. The main contractors for the project have already been chosen, so it's unclear what the Boring Company will do. Perhaps they will consult on value engineering. According to MarylandBids.com, a website from the 90s visiting the present, RFQs went out for design work on both the Bush River and Gunpowder River bridge replacements. The current bridges are 110 years old, double-tracked, and restrict speed to 125 miles per hour. The new bridges are planned to be four-tracked and accommodate speeds as high as 160 miles per hour. Construction on both of those is set to start in 2028. Updates from the Gateway program. Hudson River ground stabilization continues to advance, getting the river bottom ready to hold the new future North River tunnels. The Hudson Yards Concrete Casing 3 project, which will link the North River tunnels with New York Penn Station, is officially past the halfway point. The Palisades Tunnel project is done with pre-construction and is now installing soldier piles to shore up the approach to the future tunnels. Once that's done, we'll see some TBM action on this section that will tunnel under the hills of Bergen, New Jersey, before hooking up with the section of the project that will run under the Hudson. New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Amtrak President Roger Harris have been exchanging love letters about the East River Tunnel rehab project. This is a project to repair storm damage caused to the tunnels between Manhattan and Queens during Superstorm Sandy in 2012. New York and Amtrak are attempting to work through impacts on Empire service the project will have, while completely shutting down one of the four tunnels to perform the rehab work. In addition, Amtrak announced that work would be delayed by 2 weeks, but should now be started as of the time of this video's release, June 1st, 2025. Nearby in the Bronx, a new bridge across the Bronx River is in place that will carry a new track necessary to accommodate additional volume brought to the Northeast Corridor by the Penn Station Access Project. This project will allow MTA Metro North to provide service to New York Penn Station via the NEC, accompanied by 4 new transit stations in the Bronx. Over in Norwalk, Connecticut, at the Walk Bridge Project, the project's Facebook page featured some cute little TBMs they used to bore utility conduit under the river. These little guys are only 5.5 feet in diameter and sadly too small to tunnel for transit, at least until we're traveling in tubes. Moving back to New Jersey, Amtrak held a public board meeting on May 22nd, and we have the slides. The Portal North Bridge over the Hackensack River in New Jersey is on time, on budget, and now 83% complete. Heavy civil work is mostly done. Track and systems work has begun. That is scheduled to start carrying trains over the Hackensack early next year, 2026. At the meeting, it was also revealed that progress on Acela II sets is moving along. Pre-revenue and pre-commissioning testing is done. Dynamic testing and commissioning is underway. It looks like they will put somewhere between 2 and 5 sets into service at launch. Still remaining simulated service testing and dress rehearsal, then it's go time. Launch is still predicted for spring, and there are only 3 weeks left as of June 1st, so it is imminent. While we're on the subject of Amtrak, let's look at the NEC ridership numbers. Here are the numbers from March. Month over month looks good as service emerged from the winter doldrums. Year over year, not as strong. Revenue up slightly, but earnings took a hit compared to last year. The biggest increase in expense was salaries, wages, and bennies, which explains why Amtrak recently eliminated 450 managerial positions. Ridership for the year still up 8% over last year, which was a record year for trips. Hey, Amtrak released the April numbers on time. Let's look at those too. A huge month, up strongly in revenue, but with massive gains in earnings, thanks to a big rebound by Northeast Regional Services. These are peak season results 6 months early. It should be interesting to see what the peak looks like with the new Acela II sets in service. That'll do it for Acela and the NEC. Let's move west to our old friend, the Chicago Hub Network. The Illinois High-Speed Rail Commission met once more to continue their route alternatives analysis. Basic route assumptions are pretty interesting, looks like true high speed. Route options were of 4 basic types and a few sample routes were presented. Here we have an interstate median option clocking in at 2 hours 38 minutes with a tilting train. Same time running through Champaign-Urbana and Decatur, which is a slightly longer and more populated route. I also had like freeway routes through Bloomington and Champaign clocking in with the same time end to end in this video. Check it out. Back to the routes, an intriguing option to run through Joliet and then due south to Champaign-Urbana next to county roads. This would result in a hypothetical time of 2 hours 23 minutes using a conventional high-speed train. Also notice that they're terminating in East St. Louis, which may indicate a desire to avoid investing in a new Mississippi crossing. St. Louis Transit does run across the river into East St. Louis and Illinois, so that might not be the worst option if Illinois can place a station next to transit. Here's a collection of seemingly final candidate routes. The Springfield-Bloomington-Joliet conventional interstate median option is similar to one I investigated. I had that at 3 hours 13 minutes, including limping across the river into St. Louis, and additional schedule padding. Equalize those and you're less than 10 minutes apart, so 3 hours seems like a reasonable assumption for that paradigm, which would be the slowest of those listed. Also notice that a Rock Island approach through Joliet has the upper hand numerically. Moving on from Illinois, let's stop by Texas and see what's cracking. Texas lawmakers have passed a bill aimed at Texas Central Railway that would cause the project to report to the state in the same manner that it would report to the federal government. It's a move Texas legislators have been working on for 2 years, trying to get a peek at what Texas Central is up to internally. This continues the struggle between Texas and Texas Central that's been going on for almost a decade now. That's it for Texas. Let's continue west to California high-speed rail. NBC KCRA 3 in Sacramento is reporting that it possesses information which indicates the cost of the Merced to Bakersfield portion of the project could grow by another $2.5 billion, putting it about $10 billion in the red. This rolls directly into the next story where California Governor Gavin Newsom is proposing a budget which puts a state cap-and-trade floor for California high-speed rail funding at $1 billion per year. This sounds great, but when you consider that California high-speed rail's cap-and-trade inflows have been about $900 million a year anyway, it amounts to practically nothing. As a reminder, given the amount of estimated cost unspent, the project is currently inflating at a rate of nearly $3 billion a year every year after 2034 that Phase 1 LA to San Francisco isn't done. In other words, the minimum should be $3 billion a year, not $1. We're still missing a real state commitment and continuing to hope for a federal bailout, apparently. That's why we're now talking about Gilroy to Palmdale by 2045 instead of LA to San Francisco by 2034. With that said, let's look at the Central Valley progress. Capital outlay budget summary, $150 million as predicted last month. Next month needs to be a serious jump in order to hit the yearly budget. Design build expenditures, middling. We're getting some new chart styles here. Average daily site workers now shows total and breaks down to the construction packages. Overall, hanging in there just under 1,500. Somehow they've made the construction progress chart even harder to read. However, now it's a little easier to see what happened over the last month, and the forecast 3 months ahead is a nice touch. No change on structures February to March, by the way. Same for Guideway, but having just been out there, I can tell you they're doing a lot more work on Guideway this year than they were this time last year. This chart is a mess, but once you get used to it, it has some good information. You can see all structures are set to be either underway or complete by September of this year, 2025. I really like this chart because now we can see the plan past the current fiscal year. The last of the Guideway should be underway by this time in 2026. Also, you can see the last of both structures and Guideway is set to complete in December of 2026. So they are cutting it razor close there. I'll bet you that bleeds into 2027 a little, but we'll see. Real property railroad acquisitions are slightly behind. My understanding is that this is mainly in the Fresno area where California High-Speed Rail will run next to Union Pacific tracks. There's a 10-mile stretch up there between the Fresno station and the San Joaquin River Viaduct that's moving a little slow. We'll keep our eye on that to see if it becomes a problem. CP1 earned value chart. They got a little bump from March work to keep the scheduled performance index at 0.94. I think you'll start to see that creeping back toward 1, which would indicate things going as planned, but that may hinge on that real property issue. One last chart. It looks like the last problem in construction package 4 has finally cleared up, so there shouldn't be any issues when they start laying track there 10 or 12 months from now. That'll do it for California High-Speed Rail. While we're in the neighborhood, let's check in with Brightline West. A new construction notice. After a 3-month lull, pre-construction activities have recommenced. I'm not sure what to make of this. Was this pause due to uncertainties about funding that have been resolved? Was additional work identified as design was advanced? Hopefully we'll find out soon because quote-unquote early 2025 only has 1 month left. Moving on to Brightline in Florida, the commuter pass is back. We talked about this last month and they finally kicked it out the door. That segues nicely into Brightline numbers. They mentioned that 5 more carriages will be showing up in June, allowing them to expand capacity by 11%. Short distance ridership has been hurt by the elimination of commuter passes, but the newly expanded capacity has allowed them to reinstate those. However, they fell short of initial ridership projections by 40% last year, and in order to meet those this year, they need ridership to pop by 40% year over year, not 10. We'll see if additional capacity finally makes a difference in the next couple of months. That'll do it for Brightline. In other news, the Transit Costs Project released a report on its ideas to improve service on the Northeast Corridor. This is a group of researchers collaborating through the NYU Marin Institute of Urban Management. The report proposes changes which it says would get Boston to Washington, D.C. times down to 4 hours from the current 7. They recommend some infrastructure investments like bypasses in Connecticut that may be politically difficult. I bring this report up because a large part of proposed time gained is through things like adjusting the tilt of rails through curves, using trains with better acceleration, or employing modern scheduling practices, all of which are far cheaper than infrastructure investments. This channel tends to focus on infrastructure changes, but that is only one tool in the box. I encourage you to read this report if you haven't already and check out some additional tools. Link in the description. Similarly, Momentum is another report through the NYU Marin Institute. It discusses how conversion to high-level platforms and electric multiple units can greatly reduce stop penalties, resulting in much better end-to-end trip times in a New York statewide solution. Also definitely worth a read, link also in the description. And now it's time for Stu's Boo Boos, where I go over everything I missed or got wrong last month. No boo boos! That keeps your gold star total at 22. I get a silver star, which brings me to 7. I need to start finding things we all missed and chip away at those gold stars. As always, if you find a boo-boo in this presentation or something I missed, let me know in the comments. If it's a good one, you win a prize. Special thanks to the Stu Crew Discord server for all of their help. If you'd like to join our motley crew, check out the invite in the description. Up next, I just got back from my anniversary trip to check out the California high-speed rail route from Anaheim to San Francisco. Like last year, that will culminate in 3 videos released throughout June, hopefully on a weekly basis, so keep an eye out for those. But that's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you on that big, beautiful freeway.